We all have our own experiences with the scenic and historic trails across this country, and I think about how Bart has traversed over the past 16 years with a sense of hiking, adventure, outdoor discovery, and so we're going to have a real treat. I haven't seen this show, so looking forward to it, but Bart is going to share through his viewfinder what he has seen on his trek over the past 16 years to hike each of the 8 scenic trails in America, and that's a terrific accomplishment, and Bart, we really appreciate it and look forward to your comments. So Bart Smith, please.
Good morning. All right, lively bunch. My Appalachian Trail adventures took one such fateful twist well into my hike. I ran into a living legend walking the last walk along the trail that he had helped popularize. Earl Shaffer was walking the Appalachian Trail in 1998 to commemorate his 1948 hike, which many view as the first walk that someone did that popularized the Appalachian Trail and captivated the country's, a segment of the country's imagination. And so by 1998, he was, safe to say, a living legend on the trail. And I was really hoping that I'd run into him. I was doing a section hike going south in the White Mountains, and he was just coming up from a very steep section of trail. And so I saw his pith helmet coming up, and I thought, my gosh, I'm going to talk to Earl, cool. And he asked me where I was from, and I mentioned that I'd done the Pacific Crest Trail, and his first remark was, well, they use dynamite on the Pacific Crest Trail, don't they? Because the Appalachian Trail is so steep. If you haven't hiked it, you don't quite appreciate it. But at the time, he also said that he was writing an ode to the Appalachian Trail, a trail that has meant so much to his life. And after I had talked to him, I thought, well, why don't I get in touch with him and see if he would like to collaborate with me using my photographs that I was taking of the Appalachian Trail. Well, Earl is a very reclusive man, so he didn't even have a phone number, and to get in touch with him, I had to contact him through his brother John, his younger brother, who lives in York. So I went to York in 1999, still section hiking the Appalachian Trail, and I just remember being at a payphone, cold, windy day, litter blowing by, and I'm just dring, 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 and John picked it up. I explained the situation, and he said, well, yeah, sounds good, come on over. And that started a relationship with the Shaffer family that has been very important to me. And the outcome was 2 collaborative efforts. One was the Appalachian Trail Calling Me Back to the Hills, where Earl contributed his journal words from his ode with my photographs, and I'm very proud of that book. But also another collaborative effort was the Katahdin Art Project. And that came at a time when Earl had just come down with, diagnosed with cancer, and it was something that he really felt strongly about, that we'd have the potential to use a piece of art that could help provide a little bit of seed money for the Appalachian Trail Museum. So the Shaffers invited Bridgie and myself to stay at John's house, and Earl was at John's house because he wasn't feeling good, as well as Earl's brothers. The whole family was coming together, and oftentimes Earl would be asleep for a good bit of the time, but the times he was awake, he'd come up, and we'd all be around the table, and we'd be signing the cards that go into the signed and autographed cards that go into the right corner of the Katahdin Art Project. But the great thing about it was it gave an opportunity to just hear Earl talk about his life, which was really an amazing life. He was in World War II for 4 years without furlough, and when he came back, one reason that he hiked the Appalachian Trail was because he lost his best friend in Iwo Jima, and it was a way to help deal with the pain of the loss of his friend. And so we signed many, many cards, and there's Earl right there, and we're hoping that we can still get this project together, but when Bridgie and I had to finally leave, Earl was sitting on the couch, but and that's the photograph right there. That would be part of be in the Katahdin Art Project. But Earl was on the couch, and everybody was gathered around talking, and not really noticing Earl, and I just kind of got overwhelmed with emotion. I wasn't even sure why, because I didn't know Earl that well. But Bridgie and I had to leave, so we said our goodbyes, and we got in the car, and we were driving down the road, and I said, what was that about? Why did I get emotional about that? And then a meteor shower went right over our heads, and the biggest meteorite I've ever seen. And it's probably not anything cosmic, but to me it was. And unfortunately, Earl passed away shortly after that. We're hoping that we can still use the Katahdin Art Project to help promote his legacy.